Hello, friends. We are on another Web Dev Office Hours today. A show where, I'm going to keep building some stuff as long as we have stuff to build. And if you want to show up and just ask questions or you want me to build something else, feel free to chime in on the chat and we'll just have some fun building stuff. In the meantime, we have been working on a weather app and we've been kind of taking a look at writing tests for this app to play around with Vitest and Cypress. And where we left off, is we have it almost done with the unit tests with Vitest. So the only thing that's missing is, I think, this last file, and then the Vitest stuff will be done. So here's where we are today. Let's see. We've got this file. It's got a few functions in it. Format date function, a GetWind Direction function, and a response provider function. And that's what's doing the bulk of our work. Yeah, so let's see what this actually does. So create response is going to do something. What is create response going to do? Index. Oh, it's just going to create okay. Yeah, that should be fun to work with. Cool. So let's see here. Let's start with format date. So let's look at it. It should be pretty simple. Format date calls the intl DateTime format, and it's going to return something. So I think what I'm going to do to begin with is call this function. Actually, I'm going to say const. Let's see, what was it saying? Formatted equals format date, new date, date recent. Sure. So I'm actually going to pull this date out. Well, let me get this date recent object. Let me get rid of this date thing. And then say random date. Date. There we go. So let's say const random date is going to be that faker random date. And that's going to be a date object to begin with. So that should be good. And then let's say console log formatted. Cool. Now we need to actually run our function, npm run test, or run our tests. This is going to kick off a Vitest instance. This first initiation kind of takes some time, I think like 18 to maybe even 30 seconds. But then every run after that will be almost immediate. So what we have here is I want to see what this string comes back to, and it should look something like well, I guess we'll just wait and see. Let's see, are you running it? Come on, go faster. Doop. There's all my tests. Looks like it ran 5 test suites, 48 ran. Oh, there's my date. Okay, cool. So I need to now figure out how I'm going to format that. Well, the annoying thing is it basically just passes it right to the DateTime formatter. Well, there's not much functionality there that I actually have to test. So let's make it easy. Let's copy that and say that I expect formatted to be, I wonder if that's going to work, locale date string. Is that actually going to pass? Looks like that passed. That's kind of cool. Huh. Let me see what that actually does. New date dot to locale date string. Oh, that's pretty handy. Convenient. I guess I didn't even really need that format date method, although we're using this for date and time. So let's write this test. Let's say it returns. It returns a date in what syntax is that? It's going to be month, day, year. So I think I want to signal that as month, day, or what is it? Month, day, year, something like that. Or maybe we'll do it just like that. So one character if we need to, one character for the day, 4 characters for the year every time. Cool. I'm going to pull this date up so that we can reuse it in my next test. I'm going to go up here and we're going to say it accepts a date, number, or string. And what do I want to do? I'm going to say, instead of calling it here, we're going to say doot. And we're going to say date equals new date random date. And then we're going to write very similar test 3 more times. Date, number date, and string date. This is going to be number, get rid of the new, and then string. Nope. And I wonder if I need to write new date or if I can just do date. I think nope, can't do that. Okay. So that should work. 49 tests passing, great. Next, we want another test that says, cool, so it can take a date, a number, or a string. Next, we want to pass some options to it. So the INTL options, let's go INTL format date, something like that. DateTime format, it should accept some options. Here's my options. Yep, that's the spec file. I want DateTime format. I wish it would give me better options for, using options. No. I want better values for the options argument so I could copy and paste, but it's not available. So let's see what we have. Options is this. So let's write another test that says I don't know, it works with, what do you call that? DateTime format options. Cool. I'm actually going to copy that whole thing. And we're going to say options is going to be that. I'm going to give this a type definition so it's easier for me to work with. And we're going to format this random date with some options. I guess I didn't really need to do that because I would have the options here. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. And let's say the options are going to be, what do I have available? Whoa. A lot of different options. Let's wrap this all up into one test. So I'm not doing a different test for each one of these. Which one's going to be the most interesting, though? Which one did we actually use? Format date. Let's see. We've got date style is short and time style is short. Date style, time style, date style. Cool. So let's say date style is long, medium, short. Let's just try short, and time style short. Cool. Let's make sure both of those work. That should fail because that's what I would expect. So this is going to be kind of the annoying thing. Maybe not. Wow, I could have made that. Could I have made that easier on myself? I could have made that so much easier on myself. I could have just done to locale date string instead of intl datetime format. Oh well, we'll keep with that test. Our tests are now failing still, and they are failing because invalid option time style. Locale date string. Is time style not allowed to be short? It should be allowed to be short. Invalid option time style. Okay, let's look this up. To locale date string. Okay. Weekday, year, month, long day. Time style doesn't seem to be available. Well, I guess we can do this kind of the cheater way and just take this and say, I expect it to be this. Take that date, take these options, get rid of that, hit save. And now it should definitely pass. Cool. Kind of the cheater approach. It's a bit of a cheat to copy the contents of the body of a function and redo it, but it should be fine. I'm going to pull these out as well and say options and say const options equals that object. So then we can simply reference that here as well. It's complaining because this needs a type definition. There you go. No longer complaining. Now our test is working. And our types are happy. Okay, next test. I think that is pretty much solved the testing for this one. It looks like it works the way we're expecting. It's a pretty simple test, so I'm not too worried about it failing. This is fine. It works for what we need. GetWind Direction. This one should be a fun and easy one. I'm going to copy this so that we have it available. Make sure all my tests are written out correctly. Yep. And then GetWind Direction. So I think this function really, well, it's going to have a lot of very simple tests to write. We're going to comment out all of this and say, let's see, returns northeast for northeast east degrees. And then I'm going to say expect get wind directions northeast, which is 45 degrees should be right. So let's say let's say at 23 degrees, I expect it to be northeast. And at 67 degrees, we expect it to be northeast. Okay. Degree range. Return northeast for northeast degree range. Cool. You're going to write my next test for me. Turns east for east degree range. That is not right. That should be anywhere that's greater than 67.5. So we'll just say 68 to less than 112. And then my next test, northeast, east, southeast, south. It really should be taking, oh, it is taking from here. Okay, cool. Next test, south, yeah, 158 to 202, cool. Southwest, looks like that is correct. And west, I think we can trust that one at this point. And northwest. And finally, north degree range. North should be, yep, anything greater than or equal to 37.5, that is, and if it's less than 22. Cool. That's it for our GetWind Direction suite of tests. That is still passing everything. And on to the last test, which is response provider. So this one is going to be a lot trickier. I needed to call create API. I don't know if I needed to call create API. I do expect that request.getVariable gets called twice. So let's try this. It pulls the API keys from, what is it? From environment variables. So now I need to execute that function. Let's see. That is not at all what I want that test to do. We'll grab response provider, and we're going to call response provider with, and now we need to recreate all of the things that request has on it. So get variable, get header, query, user location. We need to grab all of those things. Basically need to make a fake request object equals an object with all of these properties on it. Oops. That's annoying. Okay, get variable we have defined twice, so we don't need that. And what get variable is going to be is a just function, a mock function. We don't really care what it returns. I mean, I guess we can have it return something. Mock return value is going to be well, let's do this. It's a function that returns faker.lorem.word. Okay. So that is, get variable is just going to take a keyword and return some keyword. Sure. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is have it be it's going to be a function that takes a key and returns a key. That way, when we call it, it's basically just going to get this value right back. So we can assert that we're calling those things. Okay, the query is going to be an object. The URL search parameters object that may or may not have a location on it. So let's just say query is going to be undefined for now. Get header. Get header is going to also randomly return a cookie or not. So I think that's just going to be a just function. Easy enough, or a Vitest function that doesn't actually do anything yet. And then the user location, unexpected token. There we go. Need that comma. You also need a comma. And the user location is going to be an object with a city, which is faker.address.city. A state is my location. City, region, and country. City, region, faker.address.state, and country, faker.address.country. Cool. That is going to be my fake request object. I'm just going to call response provider with this fake request object. It's going to complain because it's saying that it's expecting a full-on ingress client request, but it's not going to get that. So let's see if I can fix that inline. Type is going at type. And you're going to be, what are you saying? It's not assignable to this. Oops. Main.js, you are, there you go. I need this little thing. So let's copy that, paste that there, assign that, and then it's complaining about what? Conversion of that type. So it's set because it's missing the following things. So that's definitely not the way we want to do it. Let's say you're going to be that type, user location, missing the following properties, blah, 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 blah. See if we can ignore that. Okay, cool. So far, well, why don't I just fix that problem, actually? What are you complaining about? You're missing something. Continent and zip code. Okay, easy enough. Continent. Or we'll just do what am I generating by on random anyway? Blah, 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 blah. I think we can just copy all that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Nice. Oh, and then you're complaining because all of this other stuff. Well, we'll fix that really quick. Cool, problem solved. So now we have this fake request object, and it's being provided to this response provider. And all of this stuff should kind of work now. So let's say, well, I think I'm executing these API requests. So I should probably mock that node fetch thing like I did in my other tests. Where do I have that example? HTTP request. Here we go. We'll copy that. We'll paste that at the top of our test file. We'll move node fetch up, get rid of that. Okay. And let's try running this test. So let's see, const response equals that. And I'm going to console log that response and see what this test gives me. Request.getVariable is not a function. That was probably before we actually created this fake request object with getVariable available. So now let's see what it's going to give us. Get geolocation. And create API. Okay. Okay, so what's happening is it's running either the create response test It's probably not the create response test. So I imagine what's happening is we've copied over this test that isn't actually going to work because we need a JSON object returned from this. So where was there it is. This is a more fully fledged mock for node fetch. So we'll do that one. And I found out today that Faker actually can do faker.random.object object element takes an object and returns. Oh, never mind. That's not what I wanted. We'll do a favorite animal nonetheless. So we'll do that. I think that should fix our tests. Let's run that again. Cool. And what we get in return from our response is a pending promise, which is what we would expect. So let's actually make that await. Save that. All of these are synchronous. These don't need to be synchronous. This one doesn't need to. And I think none of these need to be synchronous either. Okay, that's all of our tests. Looks like it's running just fine. Looks like we get our response. This is great. And now what I'm going to do, this is where we get into something that's really cool about Jest and which has also been brought over to Vitest, which is I really don't want to write a giant test that covers all of this. Looks like, yeah, we got no weather data for that. If I run this test again, I think I'm going to get something else for that information. So yeah, no weather data for South Patrick, New York. So this is interesting. I want to do expect response dot to match snapshot. Oh, to match object and to match inline snapshot. Let me see what those are. Vitest. Oops, that's vpress. Vitest. Let's look at the API and find to match. Let's check out to match object, to match snapshot, and inline snapshot. So to match object, asserts if a string matches a regular expression or a string. Okay, that makes sense. A string matches a string or a regular expression. Cool. Match object. Asserts if an object matches a subset of properties of an object. So if I say this is my invoice and this is my details, I expect my invoice to match the object with my details. Interesting. Assert that an array of object matches. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Means that I don't have to match exactly all of the contents of an object. That might be exactly what I want right now. So let's say to match object. And I expect that to match, let's see, an object with a couple of properties on it. I'm not seeing the properties that I want. Where is it? Body. Well, let's try this one more time. Rerun all my tests. There we go. I want my object to look like this. Status header and deny reason. And then we'll say status. If I hit save, that kind of works. Status header, deny reason. There we go. And then let's see if that works. Okay, looks like that worked. So what's happening here is I'm saying part of the object or part of the properties I want to match exactly, all of these are partial to what this response should have on it. Like if I change this to 300, I anticipate getting an error. And yeah, sure enough, we do. Man, that is super handy. Matching an object, just parts of an object. So I'm going to say it matches that. Pulls API keys from environment variables. That is the test that I wanted to write, but I ended up writing a different test. So I'm going to clear that out for now. And then I'm going to say it returns a valid response object. So that's what I expect for those. And then I also, let's do one more. Boop. Let's say expect response dot body to be a string. Well, I guess we'll just do type of response body be string. Body does not exist on type object. Interesting. Certainly, there's a body on this object. What's that shortcut I'm using to select all those asyncs? Oh man, I'm like 5 minutes late on that question. Let me show you. So I have a bunch of things here. Let's select all of these expects. You see how when I hover over it, or when I guess when I select it, it highlights all of them. So you can either actually select all of it by double clicking on it, or you can hit Control D and that will select the current string, and then Control D again will select all of the other ones. And I don't know how to deselect them, so I'll probably figure that out too. If I do Actually, don't know. Let's see. Select, next. Can I deselect next? Control Shift D? No, just Control Tab D. I don't know if I can deselect. I don't know if you can deselect. Control D gets me the next one. Control Shift D does not. It opens up this debug thing. Control D, Control Tab. No, I don't know. But you know, if I ever mess up and grab too many, I just hit Escape and then just start over. You can also do like there's ways to do that a lot faster. I don't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I'm not sure where you jumped in, Code Thin, but we got the tests written for format date. Oh yeah, you don't want to manually select a bunch of things because then if the mouse is off a little bit, oh, that's killer. So yeah, you can even skip instances. So if I want to select this one, I can double click it. And then if I want to skip the next one and then select the next one, I can hold Control and double click that. And then I can hit Control D again. And you see how now I've only got the 3 that I wanted. And I can hit Control D again and get the next one. It's pretty handy. So this is interesting that it's saying body does not exist on type of object, even though all my tests are passing. So I don't know what the issue is there. Response is an object. So let's see. Response provider. Well, this is a type definition. Oh no, this is going to be down here. That type is going to be inferred from whatever is returned by this function. And this whatever's returned by this function is what's returned by this function. And this function returns an object. Create response. Create response. And I think that's probably coming from the type definitions that are managed through definitely typed. So probably not what I actually wrote because mine, what does mine return? Mine returns an object, but it's a different sort of object. Anyway, don't have to worry about, man, TypeScript is an excellent way to fall down into some waste of time rabbit holes. Regardless, what we're looking at today or right now is ways of validating that our response returns correctly. Cool. That's actually probably what I would want to do at the end of this suite of tests. So let's write the next test. Yeah, it returns a response object. Sure, why not? We're going to close that, and we're actually going to say this. It pulls the API keys from the request variables. So now what I want to do is I want to write the test. This is going to be the biggest suite of tests that I need to write. Oh, and I already got distracted. Man, I have such a short-term memory. So we already looked at this to-match object. I wanted to see, okay, so no documentation on to-match snapshot or to-match inline snapshot. So let's see if Jest has that. To-match inline snapshot. I imagine the API is designed on Jest. So inline snapshots. Okay, inline snapshots behave identically to external snapshots, except the snapshot values are written automatically back into the source code. This means you can get the benefits of automatically generated snapshots without having to switch to an external file to make sure the correct value was written. Interesting. So we're going to play with that in a moment. In a moment being right now, because I really can't wait. I'm too curious. So let's paste that in there. And let's say that I expect the response to match inline snapshot. And this needs to be an async function. Now we can await. If I hit save, this is going to do some stuff. Presumably, it did some stuff. And it didn't do anything. Okay. It didn't do anything. Well, that was anticlimactic. What if I do just to match snapshot? So I know creating snapshot tests, I know what those are, and these are, this one is working as expected. Because now if I run this again, I expect this test to fail. Okay, so before I get going too far into my own head on stuff, I want to share what's going on here. Jest had this concept. Well, Jest is not the first one, but it's the one that I was most familiar with. It has this concept of snapshot testing. And what snapshot testing does is the first time you ever run a snapshot test, meaning you execute this method to match snapshot, what it will do is it's going to take this value, whatever it is, a number, a string, JSON, object, whatever. It's going to make a copy of it, and it's going to write that copy to the file system. And where is it writing it to the file system? Right next to your test in a folder called __ snapshots. Yeah, __ snapshots. It's going to create a file that matches your same file name, and then it's going to append .snap to the end of it. And what that file is going to look like is some Jesty, or in this case, Vitesty sort of syntax that is some secret to what was passed in. Essentially, this top line we don't need to worry about, but this is the object. This is the value that was passed in. So it's keeping on disk a copy of whatever this value was. And what's the value of this, right? Why are we saving this to disk? So that the next time this test runs, it can read that data from disk and compare the values. So what happened was, the reason why we're getting a failing test is simple. Looks like there's a bunch of stuff that actually does match that it's giving some errors for. But the most important thing, that why it's failing, is because here we have what was expected is no weather data found for Elvisbury, Hawaii, Tajikistan. And what we got instead was no weather data for Christianstad, Wyoming, Brunei, Darussalam. And why did we get those? The disparity between those two is because, quite simply, every time our tests run, we're randomly generating a city and state and zip code. When does it take a snapshot? It takes a snapshot the very first time that it runs. So if that snapshot doesn't exist, so I'd go ahead and delete that file and delete it, so it's gone. Now, technically, I don't have any snapshot. So if I rerun my test, it's going to say, cool, everything passes because we didn't have a snapshot to compare to in the already. We do have a, why is it saying I have a failed test? I don't think that was correct. I think, yeah, the first time, okay, we had 2 failed. That's the problem. I don't know what the first failed test was, but let's start over. What are my failing tests? I've got that snapshot test. 2 written, 2 failed. Let's clear everything out. Try this again. Delete that snapshot. And right now we're starting with a clean slate, right? We're going to run our tests. I think none of my other tests are currently in a state that they should fail, so we should be all right. All my tests look like they're passing. Okay, we're in a state where all tests have passed. So anytime that you call two-match snapshot, it's going to create a snapshot for that test, and that's going to be based on the name of the test and I think the test suite. So when we look at this test file, the name of the file is written in there, as well as in the code itself, explores response provider, returns a valid response, object 1, something like that. So if we were to call to match snapshot several times, it somehow tracks all of the times that we call it. And I don't know exactly what the logic is there, but it's a very easy way to match a lot of data. So especially if you're building like front ends or HTML like we're doing, a lot of this data is not going to change. And I really don't need to check against what all this data is. And matching a string or doing a regex is not going to be something fun. So this is where to-match snapshot is a great tool. The problem with to-match snapshot is it can be fickle or fragile, because anytime that snapshot changes, you're going to get a failing test, even if you change some padding on something or like change a class name that doesn't actually break something. Your snapshot is going to report that it's broken. Fortunately, you can easily update snapshots. So I'm going to run my test one more time. Again, we had the failing test a moment ago. Now we'll have, we had the passing test a moment ago. Now we're going to have that failing test. And that is because, are you going to tell me? There you go. That is because, once again, the first time the test ran, it generated, let's see, that's what was written. That was failed. So the first time it ran, it generated this random information. The second time it ran, it generated this random information. Those obviously don't match. So our snapshot fails. So how do we fix that? Well, this is probably one of the cases where I would say using static data is probably what we want, because we're testing that the UI is generated based on some static data, so we don't need to randomize it. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna go with. And then what else do I want to do? Well, I don't have a whole lot of time left before I'm going to take off, so let's get that going. So let's see. Here it returns a valid response. Here, I think after that, logically, I'm going to put this test that says it generates a UI. I don't know. What would I want it to do? So if we are faking all of this information, our APIs should return, let's see, weather data. So we're not returning any weather data. So only if we're not returning weather data should we see this. So I'm just going to do a snapshot test and leave it at that. Creates a generates a UI. I don't know. Generates whatever default UI matches snapshot. Good enough. So what we need to do here is instead of using this fake request object where everything is randomly generated, well, actually only the user location is randomly generated. So we can reuse the same keys. So what we'll do is do ... to spread that fake request object data. And then we'll just say that the user location is going to be a new one. I know I need that the, what do I need? The country, region, and city. So I'll copy that. Zip code doesn't really matter because we're not going to use it in the snapshot. So country is going to be, I don't care, we'll just say USA, region is Oregon, and I'm just putting my city information, no big deal. Portland, or we could even do somewhere made up, like, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to do Pallet Town in, I actually probably need to look this up. Pallet Town, city, and country. Oh. Pallet Town. I know it's in like Kanto region or something. Okay. Hoenn region. That's what I want. It really doesn't matter what I put there. I spent a lot of time. Spelled that wrong. That's Pallet Town, Hoenn. I really question before I sign off as well. What kind of keyboard switches am I using? I don't know. Are you talking about like the actual triggers that the keyboards are, or like what's my? This is my keyboard. It's like a super low profile. Man, look at that, super low profile. What's the brand? iClever. There you go. I guess you can't really see that. Let's turn this off. There we go. Weep. That's a make and model. Very nice keyboard. I like it. Probably not as ergonomic as it could be, but I really like the low, thin stuff. So country. Country is Game Boydia. Cool. So there's my user location. It's complaining because whatever, it's missing a zip code. Whatever, we'll just do zip code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what else is it missing? Continent is going to be, oh, Kanto. Yeah, sure. So you're still complaining? Oh, that's why you're complaining. Nope, still need those. Okay. I'm a slave to TypeScript, I'll tell you that, or type checking. Okay, so now that we have those static values and we want this to match our snapshot, we're going to see one obsolete snapshot. So it's going to tell us, why is it telling us that? Well, all of our tests are passing. 2 obsolete snapshots. Interesting. Why is it saying that? Whoa, it's generating a bunch of information. It's basically recreating everything. That's the end. Oh, okay. That's what's going on. It's complaining about obsolete snapshots because I... yeah. No, those mechanical keyboards, I can't stand the clack, 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 clack. That's like way too loud. So I like I like it nice and smooth. So it's saying that I have obsolete snapshots because I changed the name of my tests. So the tests or the snapshots are still there for tests that no longer exist. So let's see what we can do about updating snapshots. I know that there's a way. One obsolete snapshot, rerun all. It's going to tell me that again. And I think there's a way to update snapshots. Okay, I think the way, I forget how to do it. Let's throw in an error so we know that that snapshot is now going to be out of date. Cool. That's my one little error. And it's going to say press U to update snapshot, press H to show help. Okay, so let's return that. And I think I just need to press U. Should update my snapshots? Is that right? Let's hit H. U to update snapshot. Okay, well, I just hit that. Let's try rerunning. Two obsolete snapshots. What the heck are you telling me, dude? Update my snapshots, please. Rerunning, update snapshot. That's what it said. I'm going to try quitting. Well, anyway, that's as far as I'm going to get today. What we covered today, what did we get into? The most interesting stuff was, yeah, I think just that snapshot stuff. So the thing that we looked at yesterday was making it easier. If we just export every function that we write, it makes it easier to test, because otherwise I would basically have to ensure, in order to test this function, I would have to check that the degrees that I return here, the degrees match the degrees that are returned up there. I don't know. It can be just a big pain. So by just exporting this, now I know that anytime I use GetWind Direction, this code has been tested. So I don't need to worry about ensuring that the wind direction is correct. Same with format date. I use that in a lot of places. So let's see. Where were we here? You're still telling me I got an obsolete snapshot? That's annoying. And I can't update it anyway. Let me try the jest way with a -u, Vitest -u. Check my source code. Let's see. Oh, okay. So now that may have done the trick. Yeah, looks like you need to pass the -u flag to Vitest in order to update a snapshot, which matches how jest works. The only thing that's annoying is if I press H here to show my help, in watch mode, I should be able to update snapshots, but I cannot. So it's cool that I can filter by name. I can rerun all tests. I can rerun only failed tests. Oh, that's real nice. I think that's the default behavior though. So that's cool. That's Vitest. That's Vitest snapshot tests. And then you would basically just include that in your Git repo. So I don't like to do too much snapshot testing because it can add some bloat, but yeah, a little bit here and there where it makes sense is good. All right. That is it for today. Kotin, you are consistent and awesome. I really appreciate you showing up. And if you got some questions that you want to show up with tomorrow, feel free to bring them. Can be unrelated, or if you want to build something else, happy to work on something else as well. Let's see, what other tests, just so I know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. What other tests do I need to do for this? Oh, it's going to be kind of a pain. I need to check that this is being called. I should probably check that this is being called. I need to check that I'm getting my cookies and my search parameters. There's a lot of function left to check. Basically, all of this is untested code. So we may keep hacking at it. We may call it a day. We've been writing a lot of test stuff, so we'll see. We'll see how tomorrow looks. All right. Nah, you don't have to worry about breaking my focus. I have developed ADD anyway, so I'm always breaking my own focus. Anyway, I will see you maybe tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard. I will be on. Maybe I'll see you then. All right. Have a good evening.